When Bill Maher took to his show to reveal details about Caitlin Clark's new European contract, the world wasn't quite sure what to expect. Maher, known for his sharp wit and unfiltered takes, managed to merge humor with a sense of revelation. Clark, an emerging star in women's basketball and a collegiate sensation, had become the focal point of speculation ever since rumors surfaced about her plans to sign a professional contract overseas. And when Maher decided to dip his toes into sports talk with his own comedic twist, it was bound to be anything but ordinary. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Caitlin Clark's basketball prowess is something people talk about with genuine admiration, like describing an impossible magic trick that you swear happened. The young star's deep threes and court vision made her an internet sensation and a household name in collegiate basketball. Maher, who typically steers clear of sports in favor of the political or social, decided to poke his nose into this domain, surprising his audience and perhaps himself. He opened his monologue by framing Clark's deal not just as a sports story, but as a cultural moment, one that had the potential to send ripples through the WNBA. Details about the European contract, as presented by Maher, were eye-opening. He described the agreement as a lucrative and strategic move that offered Clark both financial rewards and freedom. It was more than just about a paycheck. It was about shaping her future on her terms. According to Maher, this European gig didn't involve the usual locked-in obligations or constraints. Instead, it reportedly gave Clark room to maintain her market presence in the U.S. while sharpening her skills against top-tier international talent. Clark's deal, as Maher relayed, felt less like an escape from the WNBA and more like a conscious decision to expand her portfolio. Maher didn't let the dry details dominate his delivery. He peppered this segment with quips, comparing Clark's contract to a golden ticket to an all-you-can-eat buffet, except the food is endless talent and financial security. He made light of how Clark had essentially signed up to be the coolest exchange student in Europe, while managing to keep one foot firmly planted on American soil. The comedian's ability to distill the key points into relatable and humorous takes ensured that even casual viewers understood the gravity of the contract without getting lost in jargon. Yet, beyond the jokes and jabs, Maher's report brought to light the delicate balance Caitlin Clark was attempting to strike. It's no secret that women's basketball in America has struggled with financial compensation issues, with even top players seeking contracts overseas to supplement their income. For someone like Clark, who's already a standout in the college circuit, going international was a move that raised eyebrows in WNBA circles. And while Maher chuckled through his monologue, the subtext was clear. This wasn't just a move for Caitlin Clark, it was a wake-up call to the WNBA. The WNBA's reaction was unsurprising in many ways. The league, which has been fighting to attract and retain top talent, suddenly found itself faced with a situation where one of its brightest potential stars had opted for Europe over its hardwood courts. From the league's perspective, losing out on an athlete like Clark could signal bigger challenges ahead. Maher took a moment to reflect on this with his usual touch of satire, quipping that the WNBA execs were probably looking at Clark's contract like an old movie villain watching his treasure chest get snatched away by a clever hero. He laughed it off, but the sentiment was clear. WNBA insiders, while maintaining their professionalism, seemed to be gritting their teeth behind closed doors. They had invested heavily in reshaping the league's image and negotiating better pay scales, but Clark's move seemed to imply that it wasn't enough, at least not for everyone. Some close to the league viewed Clark's contract as a challenge to its current system, while others saw it as an opportunity to improve their offerings and keep future stars from exploring similar paths. Maher's sharp commentary seemed to frame the WNBA's response not just as frustration, but as a reluctant acknowledgement that there was work to be done. Clark's choice to go international was not just a personal move. It had larger implications for women's basketball and how the sport is viewed globally. By signing a contract that offered more financial security and flexibility, Clark was showing that she understood her worth and wasn't afraid to push the envelope. Maher highlighted this in his own irreverent way, comparing Clark to an artist who decided to leave their record label to produce their own album. She didn't burn bridges, he joked, she just upgraded her map. But it wasn't just the WNBA that had to process this news. Fans and critics alike chimed in, each with their own take on what Clark's decision meant for the sport. Some applauded her, seeing it as a savvy career move that put her growth and financial stability front and center. Others expressed disappointment, worried that her absence from the WNBA would create a talent vacuum that the league would struggle to fill. Maher captured this sentiment in his usual blunt manner, saying it was like watching the best player on your high school team leave halfway through the season, not out of rebellion, but because another school offered better cafeteria food and a better band. The decision also brought attention to the growing disparity between European and American women's basketball leagues. In Europe, clubs often have more flexibility with contracts and incentives, attracting even high-profile players from the U.S. Maher, never one to shy away from the financial side of things, didn't miss a beat in mentioning the sometimes stark difference in compensation between the two continents. But he did so with a grin, suggesting that Europe was like that cool friend who lets you stay out past curfew, while the WNBA was the strict parent making you come home by 9. As the monologue progressed, Maher explored how Caitlin Clark's move might serve as a blueprint for other young talents entering the game. He likened her to a pioneer who didn't need to fight her way through a jungle, but instead found a path around it with a pair of top-quality sneakers and a well-thought-out plan. The underlying implication was clear. Clark's decision wasn't just a career move, it was a statement, a declaration that athletes in women's sports were beginning to wield their own influence over where and how they played. What Maher's segment also revealed was the complexity of choices faced by female athletes in the current sports landscape. He touched on how male athletes are often granted the freedom to explore various opportunities without it being seen as controversial. By choosing to play in Europe, Clark was challenging this notion and broadening the scope of what female basketball players could aspire to achieve. She wasn't conforming to expectations, and that in Maher's eyes was something worth acknowledging, even celebrating. The reactions from WNBA players were perhaps the most mixed part of this story. Some veterans expressed understanding, acknowledging that the lure of higher pay and new experiences could be hard to resist. Meanwhile, a few younger players viewed Clark's choice as both inspiring and daunting, seeing it as a chance to rethink their own careers, while also recognizing the inherent risks involved in breaking from tradition. Maher didn't miss the chance to slip in a comment about how the veterans were like older siblings watching their younger sister sneak out the window, while they stayed back, adhering to the rules. The segment wasn't just about the facts of the contract, it was about the narrative surrounding it. Clark's decision, the WNBA's response, and the public reaction all intermingled to paint a picture of a sport on the cusp of change. Maher, as is his style, broke down these elements into bite-sized, digestible pieces that made the story both entertaining and thought-provoking. He managed to strike a balance between humor and insight, keeping his audience laughing while also making them think about what Clark's move meant in the bigger picture. While Caitlin Clark was already a star, her European contract seemed to signify a pivotal moment in her journey, one where she actively shaped her path rather than letting the system dictate her course. Maher's revelation of the contract details shed light not just on Clark's ambitions, but on a broader shift within women's basketball. It suggested that players were becoming more willing to explore opportunities beyond the conventional route, and that these choices could challenge existing structures. Maher's take on the situation was simple. Caitlin Clark wasn't running away from the WNBA. She was running towards something that aligned better with her goals and values. And in the end, isn't that what every professional, whether athlete or comedian, is striving to achieve? As the cameras panned away from Maher's desk and the segment came to a close, it felt less like an ending and more like a moment of anticipation, like the calm before a wave of change. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.